Hello again, Great Ancient Miniature Man, and this is episode 3 of the Heroes of Carthage series. So, hopefully you've seen the other ones and you've seen number 1, 2 and 3 completed. Let's have a look at 4 and 5. I'm just going to do those two together because they're a little bit more intricate and a little bit more, a little bit more interesting, I guess, than the first 3 guys, which were really a bit of a warm-up. So, number 4 is the defining features, this giraffe skin that I've done out of green stuff. Another Victrix figure out of the, I think he's from the Samnites. And the big plume on the helmet's going to be the major thing. Now I've started work on that on a different figure, so I don't want to show you too much of this guy, but he's very similar to that. So basically I've got a head from somewhere. I think that's actually from the Wargames factory Numidians, and put a little piece of wire in the top, a bead on top, and then green stuff to try to make something vaguely like these amazing ostrich plumes on here. So the other head for number 4 is detached, and I'll stick that on soon. So that's number 4. I've also obviously got to make these nice greaves, although he's got greaves on here. Whether I make some a bit more like that or not, I haven't quite decided yet. Okay, and then at number 5, so he is going to be one of the best ones with his crocodile skin across his linothorax. So I've done that of green stuff, and I'm reasonably happy with how that's starting to look. Once it's painted up, obviously it'll stand out a bit more and be a bit more impressive, but I think he's going to be quite an awesome figure. So I'm looking forward to putting these two together, and I will bring you back with the next stage very soon. Well, there's been a bit of interest on the basing that I use for some of these miniatures, and it's pretty straightforward, so I thought I'd just give you a quick look at how I do that for one of these Heroes of Carthage that I'm working on. So this is modelling paste by Montmartre. That was $19 Australian, so a massive tub. It lasts me about 6 months generally. One of these little spatulas, and you just slop it on. Really, it starts when you first get it quite watery like this, but once you've had it for months and months, it starts to dry out and get a little bit thicker, but it's still always pretty easy to work with. Sometimes I just need to wet the spatula a bit to soften it a little bit if it's getting a bit too hard, but this early stage it's very easy. So basically we're just spreading it around to integrate the base so it doesn't stick out, and being careful not to get it on the feet as much as we can avoid that. And that's it. It doesn't have to be very special. So next step, I've got a variety of tubs of stuff to put on, but this is my usual one. So just a mixture of sand. There's some little grit there which I got from a pet shop, some pretty low quality grass flocking that I've chucked in, and a few little what are they called? Here we go. Basing material, loose foliage, heathland, all mixed together. I'm just going to sprinkle it on, basically. Nothing very accurate or scientific here. Knock off all the excess. Then, next step, I'm just going to wet my finger and just run it around the rim to get that as clean as you can. So that's pretty good. And then often you find the little stones fall off more than the sand and the rest of it, so I usually like to just manually add a few extra stones if I haven't got any to remain in place. Chuck a few of these guys on, add a bit of interest, not too many. Sort of finding that basing less is more with both the tufts and the features often. Sometimes I put slightly bigger rocks, but this guy's going to be just some basic ones there, so I think that'll actually do. And then the other key thing is to have a look around the feet. This guy I think is okay, but sometimes you get actually there, yeah, you get stuff just coming a bit too close to the feet. You want them to be fairly distinct, because when you start putting base coat painting and stuff down, that accumulates on top and it all encroaches on the feet, so you end up not seeing them often. So I just push everything back a little bit away from the feet so you've got a little bit more room to work with. And then we'll just leave that to dry for, well, often overnight, and then come back and do the base coating. So I'll show you that when I get to it. Okay, so I've primed a whole lot of these guys now. Obviously just, whoops, just in black. You can do it one of two ways. I sometimes just use this cheap Motor Matte Black spray, or otherwise I just use a cheap acrylic. So this cost about $2 Australian for a big tube, 75 mils. That one's about $5 or $6. You can actually get those spray paints on eBay, I've noticed, in Australia anyway. I don't know whether they're Australian company or whether they're international, but anyway, oh yeah, it is Australian, New Zealand. But anyway, I'm sure there's something similar wherever you may be, and they're pretty cheap and they work fine. So basically make them all black. That also helps stick everything together on the base. And then if you want to be fancy, which I've just started doing recently, I give them 2 layers of sort of contrast next. So the grey primer, just go horizontally all the way around them all, and then I will come back and do a zenithal white, so just from above over the top of them all. So I'll go do that and then just let you have a peek at them. Here we go, so there he is, just being highlighted with the grey around the outside, sort of horizontally, and then the zenithal white. And he's ready for the proper basing now, or basing layer anyway. So this is, what is it, yellow ochre. Another cheap acrylic paint, again about $2 worth. And I've got a tub of it in here, and I'll just slap that all over the base really. Nothing very special. I've diluted it a bit already in there, so it should go on pretty smoothly. And the real aim here is just not to slop it all over his feet, although it's not a disaster because obviously I'm going to paint them skin colour. It just makes it a bit harder to see where they really are when you're painting with the skin, if you've obscured them with the yellow ochre. Someone described this as baby poo or curry, like buttered chicken. So yeah, that's it. Takes a few seconds to do each figure. I'll just get right in there, and then I'll just leave that to dry for at least an hour or so, and back, show the next step after that. Righto, it's maybe an hour and a half later now, and these have dried quite nicely. This dipping or shading sort of medium, it's from Vallejo, and there was a black and a sepia. I had them both, and I just decided one day to just combine them, put them all both into one big tub and just slap it on. So I'll put a bit of water on my brush initially so it's a little bit more dilute. That just makes it run into a little nooks and crannies nicely and comes off the brush very easily. So literally it takes like that long, about, I'm knocking around here, could have done it quicker, take about 30 seconds per figure. I'll just let that dry, and then we'll do a little bit of dry brushing. Right, here we are a couple of hours later, all dried. So I'm just going to use this one now, Naples yellow, very pale yellow there. And I've already put a tiny bit on a fairly rough old sort of dry brush, and I'm just going to give it a light dry brush across just to bring out some of that detail in the little rocks and on the sand, and the tiny bits of grass flock that was all incorporated in the mixture. But actually this I started this a little while back, and I didn't have so much grass in it, so it's a fairly dry sort of arid base, this one. I'll put a little bit of grass flocking and some static tufts on there once this is dry, I reckon, just to add a little more interest. But I think I've said before, I've just really found with bases often less is more. You don't want to put too much grass on, obscure all the nice detail that you've just spent a little bit of time and effort bringing up. In fact, usually when I put on little tufts, it's just to hide any imperfections. So where the integrated base meets the rest, you can often see a little bit of a rim around there. So often I'll probably put a grass, say, there and there, just to hide that. And you know, if you've got other little bits where if you're holding a spear and that
pokes into the ground, you know, sometimes if it doesn't look great, you need to obscure that. So they're very handy for that sort of thing, the little extra bits of grass. So there you go, that's all you have to do really to have it looking quite acceptable at this point. As I say, I'll put a few tufts and stuff on and show you how that looks. Actually, what the hell, I might as well do it on camera. So I've got this glue, I think it's PVA. It's very handy because it's got a small nozzle so you can apply it very accurately. Just again from a craft shop nearby, and then I've got a set of little tufts from Timu. So I'll just use a couple of them and a little bit of this dry flocking, I reckon. So let's go around a couple of spots which I wasn't so happy with, where the edging was obvious. Put a bit of glue there, yeah, another tuft there, and often around the foot, you know, you might have a few little areas that are slightly dodgy. You can tell it's, you know, it's not perfectly integrated, so you can hide them away with this. So let's do a couple of static ones first. Now I've got to remember where I wanted to put it. I think there's one right there, and one towards the front here. Let's put it here. 3 is always a nice number. And stick that one there. That'll do for those guys. And then I'll just get a bit of this dry flocking in there as well. So what I do for this, I just have this old baking tray to catch any excess. And you can put it back into the container once you're done. But literally just put it on and yeah, drop it from above. I used to have one of those battery powered things which I electrocuted myself once. That didn't work very well anyway, so I've abandoned that and just do it like this. Just put it on, turn it upside down, give it a bit of a whack, you get rid of the excess and it ends up sticking up vertically most of the time anyway. So then I just gather all the excess and back in there. So you hardly use any. This, I reckon I've had that tub of yellow dry grass for 2 or 3 years already. Unless you're doing big sort of dioramas, it's gonna last forever. Where is he? Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, so I think he's looking half decent, but once you see the still photos of the completed version, you can be a bit more critical in your judgment. But there you go. So it is quite a simple process. The main thing is it just there's a number of steps, and you've got to let things dry. So you've got to be a little bit patient with the whole thing. But there's nothing technically difficult about it at all. All right, I will come back with some more work on these figures soon. Here we are, not far to go now, the final stretch. So we've got giraffe skin there, his head on with the ostrich plumes, and I think the blue and the gold work really nicely. So I've really just got to put his shield on and give him a good all-over wash and then a bit of highlighting and he'll be done. This fellow, the crocodile skin's starting to come up. That's going to need a bit more work to make that look really as good as it should do. But again, I love the blue contrasting with the brown, and yeah, a little bit of the zebra skin on the neck there. But he is fairly close as well. So I'll come back with the final product very soon. Behold, Hero of Carthage number 4. Gives me great pleasure to produce and show off these magnificent heroes. Number 4, the guy with the amazing ostrich plume, the giraffe skin around his waist, small buckler shield. I did feel the need to give him a sword. He just didn't look quite right with his hand out there empty-handed. So he's got a nice coppice, and that one is from the Greek hoplite set by the old War Games factory. Righto, let's go to figure number 5. So here he is, number 5, in all his glory. He's got the crocodile skin around his waist, which has come up pretty well. It's not 100% happy with the colour scheme. Maybe I'll try a few more washes or something. I did a number of washes and highlighting and back and forth a bit, but yeah, it's good. I'm still happy with it, but it's just not, doesn't look quite exactly like the picture in the background. Anyhow, again, he felt the need for a weapon in the right arm, adorned with a spear there. These shield transfers are from the ones that are intended as fingernail transfers. I've shown them before, available on eBay. Nail do or something. I'll put a link to them just in case you're interested, but you can get big packets of them pretty cheap. Okay, I think that is enough for this long-winded video. I haven't bored you too much. The next lot will be out in another week as usual, and that'll be figures 6, 7, 8, I believe, so 3 next time. So look out for that one, and see you around.